now to get out in emergency, please. Okay, open karakia, we'll go with Tamati, please. Oh, Kawhiri.
Kia ino ia hai. Mānawa mai te putanga o te riki, mānawa mai te putanga o te taura o te tauira. Ka eke rongorupe, ka eke rangi tā hua ki te puna o te whatu ānuku tēnei, te whatu kei au, kai te kāinga tapu te Māori. Tū te whiwhi ānuku, tū te whiwhi ārangi, kei te whiwhi āwaho, kei te rawea mai waho. Tēnei te Māori ka whakapiki, tēnei te Māori ka whakakake. Ko te Māori o enei tohunga, ko te Māori o enei tauira. Ko te Māori o tēnei whare, ko te Māori o enei kaupapa kōrero. Ko te Māori o te oranga o te iwi, kāwhuta, kei te whai au, kei te ao mārama. Turuturu au ta turuturu a tai whanno, haramai te toki, haumi e, hui e, tai ki e.
Do we have any apologies? Any received them today?
I don't believe we have any apologies.
No. Okay, there are no apologies. Can I have a mover? The apologies? John? A seconder?
Yep.
Joe? All in favour? Aye. Carry. Okay, we've just got to, we'll do the declaration of conflict of interest as we go through the paper. So it can be raised at any time, at least during the meeting. I'm just going to move to receive the supplementary agenda. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that, please?
You will move that.
Okay.
3.1.
Yep.
That's correct.
Yep. Yes. Yep. Okay, so we've got Rick. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, 5.1, the recommendation that the minutes be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the minutes, please?
Keep on with those.
Okay, Amy and
Yeah, I'll second it. Thank you.
John. Okay. Anything with the minutes there, Amy?
No, thank you.
John, do you have any concerns? Okay, open it. Anybody else?
No.
Okay, all in favour?
Aye. Aye.
Against? Carried.
I would like to abstain from that decision, thank you.
Okay, the receipt of action sheet 5.2 on page 15.
A point of order, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me in the room?
Yep. Yeah, we can hear you too.
Oh, can I have my request acknowledged about my vote?
I'll record that you've abstained from voting. Thanks, Councillor Shortland.
That is, thank you for the response.
Okay, so we've got a mover for the receipt of action sheets on item 5.2, page 15. Do we have a seconder? Okay, Amy. All right. Is there any questions around this?
It's 918 and 922 and 927. I thought they were completed, those three, or at least two of them.
Okay, we've got Don in the room here.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yep. So
That's the one to Waikato.
we're talking about the Black Swan.
So we had a council workshop where Officer Simmons kind of updated on that risk.
We had a workshop the other day to say that as well, Rick, is that the Swan is not a carrier.
Yes, so we don't need that item then, do we?
No, just check we can update it as complete.
It's just that complete. There's huge numbers of wildfowl on the Waikato River. There's been no further infestations further upstream from the amount, and those black swan populations, they're the two separate populations.
So it's closed.
So,
Closed?
Yep, we can make it as, yeah, it's in place issue.
Get rid of it?
Yep.
Good. And I've got your copy of presentation, Jeff, so that can be closed?
Yep.
Yep.
The Waikato Regional Council about the gold clam in the area, a letter drafted.
that letter's in prep with you today, Mr. Chair, just being revised.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Okay. No other communication, discussion? All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay. Go to page 18, notice of motion, consideration to remove and replace the chairperson of the Audit and Risk Committee, item 5.3. We have 5 recommendations. I think we'll take that the report to be item 1 first.
I think I'd be prepared to move the first 3.
Okay, Jack to move the first 3. Do I have a seconder? Okay, I'll second it. Jeff? Any discussion? Okay, all in favour?
Aye.
I seek to exercise my right, Mr. Chair, to speak to the motion.
Are you just speaking to the first 3 items? That's what
To
we're
the
moving and
decision.
carried.
Yes.
Okay. So we're moving and seconded in items 1, 2, and 3. We've all gone all in favour. Aye. Are
That's
you
correct.
against?
And according to Standing Order 21.2, I seek to speak to the motion. Do I have your permission, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Ka pai. Today I address the notice signed by 5 councillors to remove me as Chair of Audit and Risk Committee. This isn't just about me. It's about fairness, transparency and accountability and the kind of leadership this council stands for. As one of the first Māori ward councillors, I represent Te Tai Tokerau communities who have faced systemic inequities for generations. These communities pay rates, expecting their money to go toward essential services, safer roads, clean water, strong infrastructure, climate resilience, and environmental protection. Instead, I've raised concerns about the acquisition of 1080 poison and use of staff labour without clear approval processes, decisions deliberated during councillor-only time away from public scrutiny, a ratepayer-funded trip to Thailand with no measurable benefit to Northland, the muting of Deputy Chair Councillor Tui Shortland and me during meetings, silencing legitimate questions, and democratic debate, without explanation or an alternative forum. Rather than address these concerns, I've faced retaliation, threats of unilateral investigations, and I have now learned that a request for GPS data to track and surveil Councillor Shortland's movements has occurred. These actions go beyond overreach. They weaponize power to intimidate and silence disagreement, undermining transparency and trust. Silencing Māori voices isn't just unfair, it's an attack on democracy. It sends a message that holding power to account will be met with retaliation and resistance. It erodes trust in this council. It betrays Te Tiriti o Waitangi principles and creates a governance culture where scrutiny is punished and the status quo prevails. The notice to remove me as chair isn't about governance, it's about silencing oversight. It's about protecting those who fear questions they cannot answer. But I will not be silenced. I will continue to ask hard questions. It is my view that any replacement of the chair must be independent, someone that can satisfy the need for trust and uphold the principles of accountability, equity, and good governance. Te Tai Tokerau deserves leaders who serve the people, not their own interests. Leaders who welcome accountability and don't avoid it. Today I stand for our communities and I stand for fairness. I stand for what's right. Tēnā tātou katoa.
Okay, any other discussions around this point?
Councillor Shortland,
Oh,
please.
Shortland and then Jack.
I'm happy for Jack to go first.
Well, as the mover, I get to go last.
Yep. Yeah, you're on to it.
I speak today to advocate for Councillor Jones. Removing him from this position would not only be a grave injustice, but a loss of invaluable leadership, expertise and representation. Councillor Jones has recently been recognised on the Time AI 100 list, a global acknowledgement of his unparalleled skills and forward-thinking approach. This accolade isn't just a personal achievement, it reflects the calibre of governance he brings to our council. He is without a doubt the most qualified member of this council in audit, risk and finance. His tenure has been marked by precision, insight and a deep understanding of fiscal responsibility, which has safeguarded the interests of our people. But Councillor Jones is more than just an expert in his field. He represents the future of leadership, diverse, inclusive and forward-looking. As a gay Māori man, he embodies voices often sidelined in decision-making spaces. His leadership ensures that those on the margins, the voiceless, the vulnerable and the disenfranchised have a champion at the helm. If we allow him to be removed, we risk reverting to a council dominated by perspectives that do not reflect the diversity of our region. Who will advocate for the young, for Māori, for the LGBTQ community? Who will hold space for those who have historically been left out if only old white men are making the decisions? The strength of the council lies in its ability to reflect and serve its entire community. Removing Councillor Jones as chair sends a dangerous message that expertise, innovation and representation are secondary. We cannot afford to lose his leadership, his voice or the trust he has earned from our communities. I urge this council to consider not only the expertise Councillor Jones brings, but also the hope he represents for a more equitable and inclusive future. Let us not undermine the progress we have made by removing one of the most capable and representative leaders amongst us. His leadership is a reminder that representation matters, not as a token gesture, but as a critical aspect of just and effective governance. If this council removes Councillor Jones, who will lead the voice of the most marginalised? Who will challenge decisions that do not reflect the realities of diverse communities? Without him, we risk returning to a narrow decision-making framework dominated by older, privileged perspectives. Councillor Jones' removal would also send a chilling message. It would tell our communities that expertise, representation and progress can be dismissed in favour of ego. It would tell our youth, Māori and the Rainbow whānau that our voices do not matter in the corridors of power. This council is stronger because of its diversity, and Councillor Jones is an integral part of that strength. His removal would not only undermine the trust our communities have placed in us, but also weaken our ability to lead effectively in an ever-changing world. I urge you to stand against this motion. Let us show our region that we value skill, diversity and the courage to lead differently. Councillor Jones deserves to remain as chair, not only because of what he has done, but because of what he represents for all of us. Nā reira, tēnā koutou katoa.
Okay, Jack.
Well, can I speak before you use the final speech?
Okay, Jack.
Yeah, Councillor Peter Lucas raised a very good point that he thinks it would be desirable if he is replaced to have an independent chair of audit and risk, and that's actually conforms with Audit New Zealand's recommendations too. And I think we should recognise that and seek to appoint an independent chair. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, I don't disagree with any of the comments made by Councillor Shortland about the ability of Councillor Jones. He's a very able, intelligent man. This is simply, nobody's moving or suggesting that Councillor Jones be removed from the committee at all. This is simply an administrative matter, because Standing Order 13.10 says that chair of any committee or working party has to be present in the room. And in the last 5 or 6 meetings, Councillor Jones hasn't been present. So Councillor Carr's chaired 2 of those meetings and I've chaired 1. It's important that if you're a chair that you show up. And this is simply all I am moving, that we need to honour the efforts of the staff, all the time they put in to create agendas. And we really need to ensure that whoever is the chair of any committee turns up to those meetings. And that's the reason why I moved that motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I know that, Councillor. Just risk here is that we've done a lot of shuffling of chairs this year. It is a risk to the council that there has been people putting in a number of absences, and we need to move with the times. Being present in a physical being is, and that's where policies need to be looked at, is an archaic way of doing things. If I could just speak to your comment around not being present. Technology is the way of most board meetings these days, and presence, physical presence, is not necessarily how most boards are done. So I would recommend that you look at what has been said around Councillor Jones in terms of the presence that he brings internationally and locally to this forum, and that I would think that throughout this year, the consideration that through you, the chair, with all of the shuffling of chairs and all of the things that have been happening, it is a risk to this council, a huge risk to this council about how things are being done, and the fast tracking of decisions like this without foresight or thinking impacts. And in the media, we'll see in the next week's news about this, or tomorrow's news around this, and then we've got voices from Wellington that will have these things that will come up. So I think we've got to consider all parameters when we're making these foresight decisions. The choice of an independent chair is a very good one, because most FARs have an independent chair. And that is, and no disrespect to you, Councillor Jones, it's a good recommendation, because that brings independence into the conversation. And as a member of that FAR, inadvertently, there are decisions that are made before coming into the FAR that need to be ratified at the FAR meeting. So that's just my opinion as an independent to the voice of things, but I just think it's really important that we look at it, because the shifting of chairs causes concerns for the whole community, and all of these votings against people and moving people around, I think, is a concern that needs to stay on the highlight of the risk register. Kia ora.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Could we just clarify, it's a good point you bring up about the online technology, but we legislatively are required, I think I've got this right, the chair for audit and risk on Northern Regional Council must be in the room. That's correct, isn't it?
That says our
Correct.
current standings reads.
So the chair has to be in, whoever's chairing the meeting has to be in the room. They can't be online. And that has been the issue over the last, 3 or 4 meetings. It's not because they
We
can
might want to fact check that, Mr. Chair, around the number, because a few was not 2.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up now. Everybody's had their say.
I don't know if this is in order, but I think that we should let item recommendation 4 lay on the table, because I'm really strongly convinced we should have an independent chairperson.
But we're only approving the first 3 at this moment.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we're not talking about 4 yet.
Okay.
So we go back to the items. We're voting on items 1, 2, and 3. We've got a mover, Jack, seconder, Jeff. All in favour?
Show of
We
hands.
count that.
Marty's got his hand.
He's got his hand up. Against?
I vote against the motions. Those 3 decisions.
I vote against too.
them.
Okay, so we've got a,
As an abstention. Sure.
Chris, just very good. Councillor Carr put us up his hand. Just checking, Councillor Carr, you were against the motions. Good one. Okay.
I had not heard confirmation, Mr. Chair, that Marty Robinson votes in favour, against, or abstains from the motion. For clarification, can we please hear that?
Marty, you online? You did put your hand up.
That person in favour of the motion.
What was that? Sorry, Marty.
Yes, I
Can't
vote
hear.
in favour of the motion.
Okay. Okay, carried. That's 4. Okay, now we're going to bring up item 4. We'll just take that as its individual. Can I have a mover and a seconder for item 4?
Well, I'll move item 4.
Okay, Joe. Do I have a seconder?
You have a name in it?
So we're going to move.
Kia ora, Chair.
Yeah.
Kia ora, Chair. Just I can just double check with Chris. Is anyone other than the person who moved the notice of motion able to move these resolutions?
Yes, I believe so, because this is to actually give, this is the next step. So the
Okay.
notice of motion was that the chair of the audit and risk be removed and replaced. So the mover of the notice of motion moved that. This is now a separate motion to
Thank
actually give effect to that. So yes.
So we've got a mover, there's no name, and that that blank, the elected chairperson of Audit and Risk Committee of the Northern Regional Council.
So typically at this point, the chair would be calling for nominations for that position in the room. So, and then that goes to the vote. So then
Okay.
that would be whoever.
Before we move it.
Yeah.
Okay. Jack?
I'd like to nominate Councillor John Blackwell to this position of the chairman of the Audit and Risk chairperson of the Audit and Risk Committee of NRC.
Needs a second.
Do I have a seconder for that?
Yes.
Yep. Rick?
John, are you happy with that nomination?
Yes.
Okay, then we go all in favour.
Any further nominations?
Any further nominations?
To the decision once the opportunity becomes available.
So
No further nominations.
no further nominations. So at the moment, we've got John Blackwell. All in favour?
Aye.
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 Well, I wanted a discussion
You can have an
about
amendment.
having an independent.
You've got to bring an amendment though to this, Joe. Should a chair come and discuss that?
We seek to speak to the motion in accordance with 21.2 in the standing orders. Can we please allow a democratic debate in this process, Mr. Chair?
If I could just ask Chair, just to clarify the position at this. So we've called for nominations. Councillor Raw moved that. Councillor Stolwerk seconded it. That we've called for further nominations. There aren't any. So yes, it's open for discussion. If anyone wishes to speak to them, we've now got a motion on the table.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And no respect to Councillor Blackwell, who I think has been an excellent chair. Don't get me wrong. I really think that we follow Audit New Zealand guidelines and have an independent chair. And the other thing we don't have on this committee, and we haven't had, is a deputy chair. And in the event that we have an opportunity here to actually appoint someone else, but I'd like to see four lay on the table and until we can research and pursue having an independent chair of this important committee.
Okay. Any other discussion around this?
So that's essentially a procedural motion for that item to lay on the table. So is there a seconder for that?
Do we have a seconder for Joe's motion?
I second Joe's motion and I'm happy to speak to it too.
Okay. Amy put her hand up first.
So I just got a question for clarity. Just is it appropriate or possible for us to have no chair in place for a period of time? It's just my question, whether for that committee, if we are required to have a chair in place.
That's a good question, and we don't have a deputy either. And really, that's something we should do, whether we have a policy that in the event that the chair isn't there, the chair of the council deputises for this committee. That's a structural flaw we've currently got. So we have an issue there, Amy. I think, it's quite simple. Is an independent chair has a huge merit in this role.
Okay, so you want an amendment to this four, so how do you want it to read?
Well, I move that we let item 4 lay on the table and we initiate the process to appoint an independent chair of Audit and Risk Committee.
Okay, now, Chris, I do call for a seconder on that.
So
You've
you
got
have
Peter
a
Lucas.
seconder through Peter Lucas.
He wants to speak.
Okay, Peter Lucas, you're available to speak.
Tēnā koutou katoa. I speak in favour of the idea that sits behind the motion that Councillor Carr has put forward and that I have seconded. And the reason for that is because appointing an independent chair for the Audit and Risk Committee will enhance objectivity. It will help address the concerns of transparency and accountability and governance that I have been raising for more than 6 months. An independent chair brings an impartial perspective, free from personality politics, free from potential conflicts of interest, ensuring that oversight of financial management, risk assessment and compliance processes, and a lot of my concerns have been related to compliance and the way in which financial decisions that have impact financially are made. And this will bring rigor and an unbiased perspective to the leadership in our committees. I also believe we require that for our finance committee that has just been established at the last meeting. This will help us to build stakeholder confidence and aligns with best practice, which Joe has already spoken to, and it will help us to align better with our priorities. That is my view, and that is why I support what Joe Carr has put forward. Kia ora tātou.
Okay. Tua, you got your hand up, and then Jack, did you have your hand up after that?
Yeah. I've got 2 questions, that's all.
Yes, while the proposal to replace Councillor Peter Lucas-Jones is one I firmly oppose, if this council insists on change, it is essential that we choose an independent chair rather than transferring leadership to Councillor John Blackwell. The role of chairing this critical committee demands exceptional skills, impartiality, and a focus on robust governance. While I respect Councillor Blackwell's contributions to this council, his appointment to this role raises serious concerns. Effective leadership in audit, risk and finance requires expertise in financial oversight, a demonstrated ability to manage complex risks, and a commitment to serving the interests of all our communities without bias. This role is not about tenure or tradition, it's about capability and trust. An independent chair brings a level of neutrality and professionalism that ensures confidence from both the council and the public. By appointing someone without political or personal affiliations within this chamber, we protect the integrity of the council's decisions. Kia ora.
Okay, Jack.
I just got 2 questions for the CE. First of all, do we have a copy of the Auditor General report? Or it might have been the Assistant Deputy Auditor General's report recommending an independent chair. I remember the Auditor General, the Deputy Auditor General, I can't remember which one. I know the Deputy was the one that was here who recommended that we do not put finance and investments in with audit and risk, which we've now separated out. That's fine. But I don't remember any part of that report saying that, and that the investment committee should have an independent chair. We all remember that. But I don't recall a recommendation that the audit and risk chair be independent. Do we have a copy of that to confirm?
Mr. Chair, kia ora, Councillor Kaur. Right here, right now, I don't have a copy of it, and I wouldn't want to advise on the fly without having an opportunity to go back and have a look at that advice.
Right.
So I do note that Bruce House, the GM responsible for the committee, is online. I'm not sure, Bruce, if you've got sufficient knowledge of that Auditor General advice to provide comment at this point, or not?
No, John, I'm in the same position as you are. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I would have thought that we would have picked that up if it had been part of the recommendation. Never mind. We may need to go back to that. My second question is, what are the dates of the next council meeting and the next audit and risk meeting? So if we were to give Joe's amendment the green light, then would we be in a position to make an appointment at the next council meeting, which would mean that we'd effectively have a chair for the next audit and risk meeting? Question?
Through you, Chair. Chris, do you have those dates by any chance?
So as the meeting schedule is currently, audit and risk is scheduled for the 18th of February and council is for the 25th of February, because that is on the premise that recommendations from that committee can then flow on to council for ratification. So it's not the way
possible.
you're looking at the moment, but we can always,
We can change it around.
100%.
Kia ora, Chair, just one question if I may.
Yep.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Chris, Does our terms of reference cover if there's not a chair present? This is going from memory, that either standing orders or the terms of reference provides an opportunity for the members of a committee to select from one of their own a chair for that meeting?
100%, yes. So if you have a deputy chair appointed, in the first instance, the chair is absent, then the deputy chair chairs the meeting. If that is not in place or that both are absent, then the members present have the ability to appoint a chair for that particular meeting. Yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd be quite willing to go along with that. I think that would speak to Deanne's point. It gives us that, and also speaks to Peter Lucas and Tui's points that we're getting independent advice at the highest level, and it would accommodate Joe's concerns as well. So I'd be quite happy to vote for that amendment. Just to confirm once more with the CE that would mean that we could still function as an audit and risk committee until we make that appointment.
Chair, through you. On the face of it, just thinking in the moment, yes, you've got members on the committee. You'll have sufficient members on the committee to form a quorum. There's the provision and standing orders for the committee members to appoint a chair on the day. So happy to go away and have some further thought, but right here, right now, yes, it would seem that the committee can still function. Chris, I can't see anything else unless you've got any other advice to provide.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be prepared to vote for Joe's amendment.
Okay, Rick, last one.
I just like a little bit more homework on it before we decide on that. So if we can have an interim chair for the next meeting, that'd be fine. But if I'd be very keen to know how many, I know it may be a recommendation from the Auditor General, but it'd be nice to know how many of the regional councils actually have one. So whether that's relevant or not, it's a recommendation. I'd like to know what the staff think. I'd like a report on that. So I think it would be better. By all means, have a stand-in for next time, but I don't think we should jump into an independent chair yet, and just in case, So we haven't had one for the time I've been here, so I jump into it now.
Yeah. So what Joe is
He's proposing independent chair.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not proposing that. I'm proposing a bit more research on it first. So.
Right.
Joe's wording was to look into. What was your wording?
That's lay on the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can still run the meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think, Jim.
Yes, we can still run the meeting. Just appoint a chair at that meeting.
Which we've done anyway.
Yeah.
So can I just please be clear for the minutes? So what I had down was that the item being discussed on the table and council initiate a process to appoint an independent chair. Is that not correct?
Yeah. That's what I'd like. Yes.
Could we just broaden it slightly? Yeah. So could it just be?
Okay, hold on. Okay, just hold on. Just point of order, please. Amy, you've got a discussion?
Thank you. Yeah, I guess just checking with Joe, would it be okay if we broadened the wording slightly just to have Rick's perspective? So we look into, the use of an independent chair.
Well, if you give me a couple of seconds, I've actually got the Office of the Auditor General, the actual section on Risk Committee chairpersons. So I'll go down it. But my recollection is they do recommend independent chairs. And,
Okay. I just thought it made it easy, that's all.
I know they recommend.
In
Okay, Joe.
terms of any amendment, Mr. Chair, through you, in terms of any amendment to the motion, that also requires my agreement as the seconder. Just a reminder.
It's just a secretarial note though, isn't it? Because it's laying on the table.
Yeah.
So if the wording that I had is what I read out, which was to initiate a process for an independent chair, and I believe that's what Councillor Jones seconded.
Yes.
If that wording is going to be amended, then it has to be through the mover and
It has to be through Joe.
no, I'll stick with as you've recorded it. Thank you.
Okay, Joe, we're going to vote on your amendment then.
That's cool.
If it helps, Jim, I'm willing to withdraw my initial motion to nominate John.
This is a procedural motion.
We've got to go through this procedural one first.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so
Can we please have a show of hands?
can we have a show of hands to support Joe's motion, please?
I'm sorry, I went out of coverage for a minute. Chair, would you mind?
Okay, against?
I mean, I just need more investigation.
Yeah. Okay, so Joe, your motion has been passed.
And sorry, Amy, did I didn't see how you voted? I'm in support, thank you.
Is that now passed, Chris?
Yeah.
Correct, so
So then item 4 is complete. Or do we go back to Jack?
No, it becomes a substantive motion, doesn't it?
no, it's a procedural motion
Oh,
and it takes effect. So it lies on the table. We initiate a process to appoint an independent chair.
Okay. So then we go to item 5.
We
Don't
do,
need it.
we are going to need it, but it's a slightly nuanced version of that because that additional duties for the audit and risk chair now does not get transferred to another council member. That will actually get split, so it's actually going to affect all of the councillors' remuneration. So we're still going to have to do a submission. But the wording, I would just please remove that. Oh no, that's fine as it is actually.
That's fine how it is. John, are you okay? Aye. Okay, so we'll go back. Can I have a mover and a seconder for item 5? Okay, Joe?
Yeah, I'll see.
Jack? Any discussion, Joe?
I know. No, it's Chair.
Okay, all in favour?
Aye.
With a show of hands, please. Against?
I would like to abstain, thank you.
So, okay, carried.
Good, Chair. Just if I can just check the expectations of councillors. Is councillors' expectations that staff go away, prepare some advice around process appointment and bring that back to a workshop for council early in the new year?
Yep.
Yep, that. Just wanted to make sure I'm clear on next steps.
We need to workshop it. Enable with information.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, okay,
So
item,
can I just clear up, John, that will cover what I was asking, whether it includes,
We can look at the Auditor General's advice.
Yeah.
no, not that, the status of other regional councils.
I think they've all got audit risk committees.
We don't know that.
Yeah, we can check it out. I'm pretty sure it's required.
I'll check with as much as staff can. We can see what we can do to review what other councils have got.
And also refer to the advice that we got from the Auditor General about, did the advice about apply equally to investment and audit?
That's what.
okay, we'll leave it in John's hands, all right?
Thank you.
Okay, page 25, item 6.2, regional rates collection. Now, Simon Crab is away, so we've got Carol Coffin in the room.
Excuse me, Chair, sorry, we just need to address 6.1, the supplementary item, which is the financial report. Sorry.
I'm happy to move that.
Oh, okay.
Supplementary.
Councillors may need a moment to read it because it did only go out this morning.
I'll second.
And I'm happy to second that recommendation contained in the supplementary report.
Okay, you've actually missed out Peter Lucas. John had actually had his hand up and put it in. All right.
I'd like to thank the staff for being so nimble, bringing this up to us.
Okay, is Carol in the room? Or Taka? Skipworth, who talks to this? Is there any major changes, like we've been through the sort of workshop? What are the changes that have happened?
Good, Chair. This is just a short update. You met. Our previous council meeting was only a couple of weeks ago, so there's not a huge amount of change since a couple of weeks ago when we hit the council meeting.
Yeah.
Apologies for it only being tabled today. It's just for the fact that we've got this council meeting at the start of the month rather than the end of the month. Yeah, Paka, if there's anything in particular you wanted to highlight.
Got it through the chair. The only thing I probably would point out is that based on last month's council meeting, that the budget is now in line with the pre-phase. And so you'll see that the difference, the year-to-date surplus for this particular month, year-to-date is 846,000. Last month it was 1.2 million. And because of the shift in the budget and realigning as approved, the performance or the evaluation performance is based on the new rephased budget.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah, John?
I just noticed that we're running at a pretty large surplus now, 8.4 million. So yeah, that's due to investments. It's quite a big surplus.
Now those surpluses are put into the short-term fund or the long-term fund at the moment? Okay. They're running surpluses at the moment. They into it mainly in the short-term fund?
And they're recapitalised through a mixture of long-term.
Long-term, okay.
So I can put their answer back to questions are to silent. Yeah.
But due to that investment that is running high, it could flip-flop, couldn't it? We could turn around and go the other way. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yeah.
Any other discussions?
No.
Peter Lucas, you wanted to second it. Have you got any discussions around this item?
I have nothing further to say at this stage.
Okay, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, back to item 6.2 on page 25. We have Carol Cotton, Simon is away. The recommendations that the report regional rates collection be received. Do I have a mover?
Happy to move it.
John? Amy? Any discussion? No? All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, page 28, internally managed investment funds, October 2024, performance retention of non-compliant fund managers.
Happy to move it.
Okay, we've got Carol again. Since Simon is away, we've got two recommendations. Are you taking both, Jack?
Yes.
Okay, Jack, and do we have a seconder?
Yep.
Okay, Rick. I see two of you got your hand up. You want to, Jack or Rick, you want to talk first? No. Rick?
I just think we've had good explanation on this from staff. We've had a workshop on it, so obviously there are things that aren't perfect, but I'm very happy with these business situations. That's why I'm happy to support it.
Okay, Tui and then Peter Lucas.
Kia ora. I'd like to know what is our risk in our externally managed investment funds in terms of investing in fossil fuels and investing in the war on Gaza. I believe I've asked this several times. I've indicated as a councillor, I get asked a lot around this, and the likes of 350 Aotearoa often will come and ask us questions, and I think we need to be prepared, particularly around these two matters. We have Vanuatu currently and others at the International Court of Justice in regards to the climate crisis. And as a councillor, I'd really like to have the information. Thank you.
Okay, we've got Peter, Tui, we have Bruce online who will respond.
Thanks, Chair. We do the ESG reporting on a 6-monthly basis through to the Audit and Risk Committee. And at the last report, there was less than 1% of the total investments that were involved in the processing or distribution or production of fossil fuels. And we do have a strategy to exit out of that over the next 2 years, which is within the SIPO. We also questioned whether there were any direct investments in Israeli companies through the holdings associated with the war. And I believe that Jonathan Erickson came back and said that there was nothing identifiable. And I believe that was, in fact, in regard to companies that were settling within land rather than Israeli land. So we have questioned that and we have reported back on that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to have this on the public record. So, and I'm happy to share further with you, Bruce, because when you are wanting to divest from the war on Gaza, it also means that you are divesting from companies that are supporting the war. So it's not just about companies that are, settling in occupied Palestine. But thank you very much for that clarification. I'm glad it's on the public record.
Sorry, through the chair. Through you to Councillor Shortland, it has been asked, and it's in your SIPO, that no investments into businesses that actively engage in supporting wars. So it's in your SIPO, so that any breach of that by Ericsson Global could have huge effects. And so it has been asked in 2 FAR committees, and in 2 FAR committees, his himself and or his person has responded that there has been no divestment into war. Not specifically the Israeli, I think the word is war.
Yeah, or as a whole. Yeah. Okay, Peter Lucas.
Kia ora. I'm keen to understand better what criteria or triggers would necessitate withdrawing investments from non-compliant fund managers in the future.
Okay, Bruce. You're on mute, Bruce.
Well, thank you, Chair. Essentially, it's in regard to the SIPO. If it doesn't align with the SIPO, then it's non-complying, and then we need to take that back to the Audit and Risk Committee for discussion, and then back to Council for a decision whether to retain or not retain those fund managers. And in this situation, we've done that, and we're recommending that we retain these fund managers.
I do understand the process, but I'm just wondering if someone could name the criteria. Because whilst the SIPO is very clear, I'm also mindful that there is also a process that is, articulated in terms of time frame around the review of SIPO, and whether or not there's been any identification around these criteria, maybe needing strengthening or further consideration. Is there any comment about those criteria?
In this situation, it's simply that these fund managers don't provide us internal control reports, and that's why they don't comply with the SIPO.
Because they're private equity.
We did discuss this. Okay, any other communication?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to hear that explained so that it is, talked about on the public record. Kia ora.
Okay, so we've got Jack and Rick moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
Well, just, Mr. Chairman, that these were all rated audit risk, and I mean, I'm happy with this, with the way the SIPO addresses the ethical investments, I think, and we do monitor that really stringently. And as Bruce said, less than 1% of our investments are in fossil fuels, and most of that is in actually delivery and movement of it, rather than investing in the discovery and mining of it. But my only main concern is those 6 non-compliant fund managers, but they're private equity fund managers, and they're not bound legally to provide annual oversight reports. So I still retain some concerns about that. I know they provide a really good return, and they provide us with extra diversity in our investments, so there's adds to our security, but I still retain some fears that as we don't have total oversight, we should be moving in time to divesting ourselves of interest in any company that doesn't provide oversight annual reports. So, but we'll address that through, well, audit risk will address that.
Okay, just wrapping it up. Rick, you got to.
I'm sorry, I wasn't quite clear with what Jack is saying here. If there are councillors that are happy with investing in fossil fuels, I'd like to know.
No, nobody's happy with investing in fossil fuels. We're divesting ourselves of our investments in fossil fuels quite rapidly. In fact, as Bruce pointed out, we'll be out completely within 2 years. But these are very tiny components of overall investments in a whole portfolio, a whole range of companies in various different portfolios, and it can be very difficult to actually trace every single little piece of where that money is going. But I know we're not investing in digging up oil, but remember we did have some investment in a company that was moving around, a logistical company that was moving around, transporting products around New Zealand, and that also included oil tankers. That's all. It's a very tiny piece of our investment of which we are moving out of. So I'm happy with our progress towards getting completely free of any kind of involvement in fossil fuels. And there was a number of reasons, not only ethical, but also we don't believe that fossil fuels have a a viable future. So we should be investing in, like technologies that have a greater future than oil.
Okay, so we've got Rick.
Oh, look, I just wanted to say it's, you brought up the point about Ericsson Global, that they're making a big effort to do it, but remember it's a tiered system. So we employ them, they look at other people, then those other people have got to declare to Ericsson Global, and people under them have to declare, and somewhere in there's something which maybe people are hiding, but we're not, to the best of their knowledge, they've said they're not investing in it. So I think it's an important fact. The reason it's under, and it's quite a bit under 1% now, and yes, we should be out in 2 years, but there are contributing factors which may stop us being out in 2 years, but the percentage has dropped significantly over the last few years. And it's just one of those things you cannot, you may not get to the full 100%, but you'll be very, very close. Okay. We are doing the best we can.
All right.
Right, thanks.
Rick, you've finished?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay, so can we have all in favour?
Yep.
Aye. Okay, against the report? Okay, carry. Okay, updated to financial delegations, December 2024, item 6.4 on page 57. We've got 3 recommendations. Do I have a mover for the delegations report?
Yep.
Okay, John. Okay, open for discussion.
I don't really think there's discussion needed. Looks like it's just about sort of a update and consistency thing. Looks good, thank you.
I think it's just a work in progress, hardly our job.
I go with the flow on this one, but I do note that audit and risk has never cited a staff register of interests document, and that's a deficiency that I think we need to cover off and get in our action sheet, please.
Okay, is that so taken as an action?
I'd like to speak to that.
Okay, Rick.
So we brought this up at a council workshop. We had an explanation about the staff conflict of interest, their own internal register, and I was very happy with the explanation. I do not want to see it as a separate item.
Okay, I think we'll get the CEO to talk about that. Kia ora, Chair. If councillors were wanting that as a thing, I'm happy to come back and report on how staff conflicts are managed, like what's the processes that we have in place, whether it's around finances, whether it's around project management, which is a different thing to bringing back a list of all of our staff and their potential conflicts, which I think is what you were referring to, Councillor Carr. But really happy to try and provide transparency around the processes and systems we've got in place to manage that.
Okay. Yeah, I just reference the Office of the Auditor General's guidelines and how a council fits. That's, that all that work.
Yep.
Yeah. Cheers.
I think through the chair, sorry, in terms of opposing that, it's more to do with what's the high level risk. Exactly. If there is a staff member that is involved in a procurement process that then has someone that they know, then that would be a high level risk that I think that needs to be highlighted from the CE up into the councillors, because it sees a clear conflict. But all conflicts not necessarily are important for councils or public to see, because as long as the CEO mitigates them, you have a mitigation plan, then you should be satisfied in his performance to be able to manage that for you. But I think, if anything, the Risk and Audit Committee should receive if there is a clear conflict that could impact the whole council.
So to make it clear, I'm not trying to go one by one staff member. I just want to see what the system is. Yep. And
that then
get a global over it.
Yeah, that's right. Kia ora, Chair, through you. Very happy to do that, because I think what I would, in my mind, would do both of what Deanne and Councillor Carr are saying. The system shows, as governors, it's very fair enough to understand what's the system for managing conflicts of interest, and part of that is what's the mitigation and the escalation pathways. And
in that scenario around, and in what situation would it be raised with governance, so that you guys have confidence in the system. So very happy to bring that back to audit and risk.
So,
And just touching base, you want it to go back to audit and risk?
it should go back there first, and probably maybe just need to go beyond there, you know, just as long as it's touching in there.
Very happy to do
I
that.
think noting the last, most recent sentencing of a staff member procuring and gaining funds publicly from another council down country is an important element to why you're raising that.
Yep.
But we expect that the CEO will bring it to your attention through the Risk and Audit Committee.
Thank you.
Okay, Rick, you had a.
Yeah, I just, you know, initially this was a full staff list. When we discussed it, when we brought it up in the workshop, it was a full staff list. I could be, no, I'm pretty sure that's what was asked. So I was totally opposed to that. It seems, I mean, 9 councillors create enough headaches for the staff in their conflict of interest. We know that. If you've got 350, it's chaos. Now that's what was brought up, and that's what I'm speaking against. I'm reasonably happy with this, I guess, but the fact is, the CEO's report brings it up. It's an item every month anyway. So, you know, I find it just another unnecessary level of governance that we don't need. I mean, Jono, if it's easy for Jono to do, fine, but let's not get into too much reporting back. Too many lists is just not necessary.
So, Mr. CEO, we've got an active open file. I haven't seen any closure on, and you know, we've got a systems breach currently, and yeah, we just got to make sure we've got good systems.
Good, Mr. Chair. I think it's good governance to understand how myself as CE has systems and processes in place to be able to manage conflicts of interest with staff. I'm very happy to bring that back to the Audit and Risk Committee and work through what that system is, how it works, and to ensure that governance has confidence in how that system works.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we've got Amy and John. Discussions done. Amy, any more discussion?
I can see Peter Lucas has his hand up.
Oh, so Peter Lucas.
Kia ora. From my point of view, this is an important conversation that addresses the need for increased oversight. So whilst I acknowledge where Councillor Stolwerk is speaking from, I think increased oversight where managing risk is concerned is something that I continue to raise as a significant and important governance responsibility. And for that reason, I do support Councillor Carr. I would add that it's not just about us focusing on staff. We know that there are times where our staff are constantly reminded about managing conflicts of interest. As elected representatives, we too must hold ourselves in that same sense, upholding compliance in so much as it is concerned with the decisions that we make and are of course part of. Nō reira, kia ora tātou.
Okay, no other discussions? Can have all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Okay, carried. Okay, we go to page 65, the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi submission, item 7.1. We've got 4 recommendations here. A couple of them need names filled in. So I think if we just take do we take the first 2? Can I have a mover in a second on this
I'm
item?
happy to move that.
And Jack, okay. Righto. Peter Lucas.
Scribbling in.
I just have a question to begin with, Mr. Chair. What are the potential implications of the bill once it becomes legislation on council operations? And how are we as a council preparing for these changes, not only operationally, but as elected members?
I don't have a response for that.
Ruben gave me a nod, and
Oh, Ruben?
if Ruben nods back at me, then
We've got Ruben and Tammy here, so Ruben is.
Kia ora, Chair. Kia ora, Peter Lucas. So as we've set out in our submission, the changes to the principles would particularly require us to effectively revisit potentially existing relationships that we've built up over the years that may potentially be subject to challenge. In addition to that, we've got existing laws that directly refer to principles of Treaty of Waitangi, and I'll just remind the council that these are principles that have been developed over 40 plus years of judicial process, and they're very well understood and articulated through that process. And effectively, by rewriting them through statute, it creates substantial uncertainty when it comes to our operational implementation of existing community partnerships. So in a very brief way, it basically means that at an operational level, we will be required to revisit both the way in which we give effect to the statute that refers to the principles of the treaty, in addition to partnership arrangements that we've developed with the principles in mind.
Okay,
Oh,
so
thank you.
seconder
Thank you,
was.
Can I just ask a supplementary question in advance of us moving to the next speaker? It's just related to the response, Mr. Chair, because whilst I acknowledge that, I'm also just noting a concern about how our council can engage with local iwi, with whānau hapu and other Māori stakeholders, to ensure that we are understanding their needs in this context? And do we consider it necessary to consult with our treaty partners in this respect? And that's perhaps something that is an action as a result of us making our submission and identifying the risks that we have as a council. Kia ora.
Okay, Tui.
Kia ora. Thank you for calling on me, because I actually want to respond to Councillor Jones around risk. And I have been involved in several, there's nearly every evening there is a treaty principles submission workshop online, or, people are sharing this a lot. I'll be interested to see the numbers when they come through. But it essentially opens the door to protracted litigation. It undermines decades, as Ruben has said, of hard-won jurisprudence, of treaty settlements, of our collective progress together, working together. And most importantly, I think that we really need to express to the Select Committee is it risks silencing the voice of Māori in decision making. And that's central to our sustainable outcomes in our region. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion around this?
Yeah.
Hold on, Oriel just put a hand up, and then Joe, and then Amy.
Thank you, Chair. I just also want to note too that we have got a commitment to looking at joint advocacy, and there are layers that are related to not only the Treaty Principles Bill, but the RMA reform. And it's our ability to come workshop that with Council, and then also be able to take that and get feedback from TTMAC, the iwi leaders through Te Kahua Taone. There's a whole range of complexity. So I think it's important for our Council to think about the capacity of time to do that, but also to see what the sector is doing through Te Uru Kahika, because there's a whole sector response, because it is going to take a lot of time and effort of limited resources for the council to see how that affects not only governance decision making, but also to the operations of the work. So I think it's a good question for our council to tackle.
Okay, thank you. We had Joe.
Yeah, thank you. I think my view is that we shouldn't support this. This shouldn't have been an item on the agenda. That's my views. Respect everybody else having a view. What we're having in New Zealand is we're having a binary approach on this stuff. We've got majority, we've got New Zealand First and National saying they're not going to support this past first reading, so it's killed, and we're just assisting with a you know, polarising the matter in Northland and possibly elsewhere in New Zealand if other councils are doing it. A huge amount of staff resources gone into writing this report, a report that's well written, doesn't just come out of 5 minutes of work on a word processor. And I just say, why are we doing it? And the answers are, Tilly's got the answers, her views. I'm expressing my view, and I don't want to have it debated down. I accept that the council, probably in the majority, will support it, but I think that any communications should, if go to government, should say that that there are other views on whether we should be involved in this process as a council. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we had Amy and then you, Jack.
And Marty's got his hand up.
I guess I was just flowing on from the response from Ruben to Peter Lucas's question about the implications for council. And I guess just wanting to clarify my thinking, because while a lot of the policies that we have for Northern Regional Council refer back to legislation, which refers back to the principles, I guess I was taking some comfort from the fact that we set our own policies, and so if there was a shift in Wellington that moved us somewhere that we didn't agree was the right place for Northland to be, we would still be able to move forward honouring relationships the way we see fit. And you know, we've got a lot in place that I think gives us a really good guide on how we want to operate. I'm thinking about Taiki and how that's, you know, in some ways we're going a lot further than what is in the legislation already. So I guess just checking in, and probably it's a discussion to have after where this lands, but very keen to ensure that we keep our knowledge of Northland and what is good for Northland front of mind, and we, you know, we set the direction of how we will proceed from this point forward, and understanding that there are lots of different opinions, you know, on what's good or not good. I think it's what I like about this is that we are showing the leadership from the NRC, which other people can get an understanding of what this might mean for us, and why we believe in terms of the work that we do that it's absolutely not the right way to go. So I guess that's sort of a question. Maybe it's something we check in on next year though, once we see where all of this lands.
I'll just briefly respond to that, Kia ora, Amy. So I guess the take home really is that it doesn't, it undermines the relationships that we've developed. It doesn't remove those relationships and those commitments. And I guess that's the challenge, is it starts to undermine, I guess, the principles around of partnership. So you're absolutely right, Councillor, that this organisation has given really strong commitments to be a Te Tiriti partner, not a Te Tiriti principles partner.
Yeah.
I guess the point though is that through statute, if those partnerships are being undermined, then that's, as staff, our advice is to bring that to the government as a submission.
Yeah.
Okay. Jack?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am implacably opposed to this bill. I know it's not pleasant for us to have to address issues like this, but we have to show leadership on behalf of our tangata whenua communities. This is extremely hurtful. It's mana destroying. It's attempting to turn the clock back to something that I don't even know if it ever existed. It's an appalling piece of an attempt. Yes, Joe, you might be right in that New Zealand First and National say they're going to vote against it, but they might still vote for a referendum. This needs to be killed now. I hate this legislation. This legislation is the most divisive thing I've ever experienced in my 50 odd years I've been looking at legislation in New Zealand. It won't only affect things like RMA and other stuff, it affects legislation that I have a hand in administering, like Biosecurity Act, and how we manage threats and how much success we have had in working with Maori communities and getting results in biosecurity, the area that I know a bit about, and the results that we get, the fantastic results we get in civil defence, unbelievably fine responses we get working through Marae, which are saving communities. I mean, it's no exaggeration to say that this is all affected, because it is all affected, would all be affected by it. We need to stand up, and I support the submission to the Hill. And I thank the staff for writing a submission with strength. And I think it's incumbent upon us as leaders to do that. And I intend to nominate Councillor Shortland to speak on Council's behalf in this matter, because whether you like it or not, sometimes you just got to stand up and be counted. Thank you.
Okay, we've got Marty's hand up, and then I think we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm fully in favour of the submission going forward. David Seymour opened the can of worms, and they have to be fully answered. If we don't speak up, we're just being complicit by silence. Joe, yes, you say, or Christopher Luxon and Winston Peters say that they're going to vote it down at first reading. And so it's a bit of a foregone conclusion, but they're putting it out there to test the waters. And we've got to firmly answer that as to being fully against this treaty principles bill. It legitimizes all of the past actions and an attempt to legitimising all of the treaty breaches to date. And I'm fully against it. I'd like also to see a member at large speaking as well as Tui. So there's both a member at large and a Taraki member speaking to it. Kia ora.
Okay, any more discussion around this item? So are we?
Just a very brief comment.
Yeah.
Is it's touched on a referendum, which I didn't think was part of this paper in front of Parliament. I'd like to say that I actually think having referendums on something that's complex is not appropriate. We look at Brexit and stuff like that. So I don't like referendums like this. I'm not declaring my hand on that one. I just want. So I'm actually going to abstain from voting this one. Because I just think we're just actually we're getting a binary relationship across North, as Amy has said. Our council's actually gone way beyond the legislation, and what you're doing is actually at risk of pushback and a pendulum swing. And I just think we want to be a bit more careful how we do our activism. Anyway.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up. So no other discussion on that. So we're actually taking recommendations 1 and 2 because we need names for the other ones. So can I have, we've got Peter, Lucas Jones and Jack. Can I have all in favour of supporting items, recommendations 1 and 2?
Aye.
Aye. Hands, please. Okay.
Can you record an abstention?
Abstention.
I'm in favour, Chair.
Against. You're against. Okay, so we'll take item carried. Yep. Items 3. That councillor, we need a nomination. Do I have any names for a nomination, please? We've had one nomination already, which is Tui Shortland.
No, that was for number 4. I haven't given any thought to who should be signing it. So
okay, so number 3.
In my view, I think it should be signed by the council chair. It would be most appropriate.
Not signing.
Okay, well, in that case, I think the deputy chair. I'd like to nominate Tui Shortland as deputy chair to sign this. So I'd like to move items 3 and 4.
Point of clarification. Can I ask a point of clarification, noting Jack's comment? But I just heard a comment from our chair saying, I won't sign this.
That is
did you
correct.
Did you vote in favour of it, Mr. Chair?
No, I abstained.
You abstained. Can we hear from our council chair at least around why he would not sign it if the decision has been made by a majority of council and we are all inseparably responsible for the decisions that we made, whether or not we support them or not. The council decision has been made. I now want to understand why our council chair would not uphold that decision that you are essentially part of.
I actually don't have to respond to you, Peter Lucas. We're actually looking for a councillor, an item 3 is nominated to sign on behalf of the council. Do we have a nomination?
Chairman, I've moved
3 and 4.
3 and 4 together,
Okay.
that councillor Shortland is nominated for both of those. Thank you.
And I'd like to second, thanks.
Second. Okay, we're going to move her and a seconder. All in favour?
Should we check with Tui that
If he
he
wants to do
accepts that nomination?
She said couple.
Okay, so I didn't
Yeah.
see that.
Okay, all in favour of supporting Tui Shortland on items 3 and 4?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Okay.
Thank you,
On
Tui.
Page 74, items 7.2, guidelines for selecting RMA consent hearings commissioners. We've got Colin Dale in the room.
Yeah,
We've got 2 recommendations.
I'll move the recommendation.
Okay, Joe. Do I have a seconder?
Just trying to get-
Jeff? Okay, open for discussion.
Okay, so it's the mover of, I don't think we've got the capacity amongst our council laws to actually do it any other way. How many councillors around this table done hearings?
You've done a lot, Joe.
Yeah, I've done over 100 or so, but you actually there's a bit more depth in one person in this role, and so I'm supporting the staff recommendation. We did discuss where we've got sensitive matters that there is a political discussion with staff to side the council on certain matters, and I think we do need to be kept abreast with it, even if it's just those who are actually registered as hearings commissioners should be kept up to speed. And I wonder whether the list of suitable commissioners has got all the registered council or commissioners on the list.
So is that a question for Colin?
Like to find out about.
Yeah. Colin, a question from Joe Carr there. You want him to repeat it? Did you hear it?
I heard that explained. Yes, you may recall that I did email the councils who are currently certified RMA commissions for credentials so that they could be put on the list.
Okay, cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we did update our criteria as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
So that's all been done. Yeah. Any other discussion around this? Okay, all in favour?
I have a question, Mr. Chair. I'm keen to understand how criteria is perhaps prioritised when selecting commissioners to ensure a fair and effective decision-making process under the guidelines. Is there a criteria prioritisation? And this is just so that people listening, people participating in the public by observing our meeting can understand how those criteria are used or prioritised when selecting commissioners.
Okay, Colin?
Yes, so that was the purpose of setting out the framework.
Yeah.
And there's different steps do take into account of, do commissioners potentially have conflicts of interest, and that's the sort of thing that we'll need to check prior to finalising selection of commissioners. Does that answer your query, Councillor Jones?
It does speak to one of the high-level themes of all my comments this meeting, which is about managing conflict. Kia ora.
Okay. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Is everybody okay? Do we need to have a 5-minute break?
Yeah, 5 minutes. Cool.
You want a 5-minute break?
Oh, nobody else does.
No? Okay, we'll carry on then. You're outvoted.
Oh, the hands up.
Okay, 7.3, page 81. Okay, we have regional deals set up to respond to the government invitation. Okay, we've got Daryl Jones in the room, yes, clean shaven as well. So
Yeah.
we have 10 recommendations.
Can I move all of those?
Okay, you want to take the whole 10 as one? Okay.
Chair, I think we should, I support 1 to 6 and 8 to 10 going up together.
So 1 to 6.
I do support 1 to 6 and 8 to 10.
So we leave
like
out 7.
I think 7 needs discussion, considerable.
Okay. That means we're taking 9 recommendations, leaving out number 7.
Yep.
So we have a mover,
Yep.
which was Rick.
And I'll second.
And Joe. Okay, Rick, would you like to speak on this?
I
Staff?
think we've had the workshop on this. We've agreed to the deals. We've had a good explanation from Darryl and the team. So I'm happy to, very happy to move those 9 recommendations.
Joe?
Yeah.
You happy? No other discussions around the 9 recommendations that we're putting forward? Okay, all in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Okay, that's carried. Okay, then we've got item 7. The council agrees that the chair of the Northland Mineral Forum be the spokesperson of the regional deal initiative on behalf of the region. Okay, so do I have a mover for that? Item 7?
Yeah, well, I could move it, but I'll be speaking against it and voting against it.
So I need a mover. Move item 7.
Yeah.
I'm happy to second it.
Oh, sorry, let Councillor Jones second.
Joe and Lucas. Okay, Joe.
Yeah, I don't want to dig into my reasons, but I'd prefer to see another one of the elected Northland leaders to represent Northland at this level. I think we need a very broad pan approach, and I'm not satisfied to get that with, as it's written in 7. If the council supports me on this, I suggest we actually take it back to the Mayoral Forum and ask them to reconsider.
Reconsider.
I'm talking about this particular role.
Yeah, yes, the spokesperson. So you're talking about the spokesperson's role on the regional deals.
Yes. Well, I'd support the chair of this regional council having that role. It's a regional role, and you panel the councillors in Northland across them all, and I'd be very supportive of our chair having that role, whoever the chair is, and I support you as chair too. Just think we should rise up and as a regional council exercise our leadership a bit better.
Okay, Peter Lucas, you second that motion?
Yes, I am concerned about the lack of attention places north of Whangarei receive when conversations around infrastructure are being participated in. Where we really need attention are in places that are largely forgotten about. And I would like to see somebody appointed a spokesperson that understands the needs of our wider community in those forgotten places. And for that reason, I think that it would be an important opportunity for somebody that is from further north to participate in that and lead that conversation out. and I would be thinking further north than Hikurangi. So I think we need to perhaps let this, let this let ourselves consider this decision a little bit more, because I can't really understand why and how this this suggestion of the Mayor of Whangarei leading this out for all of the region has occurred. There may well be an explanation of it, but I'm just wondering if there is any further information around why someone that is not from those areas that are really struggling with infrastructure is not considered for this role. Kia ora.
Okay, we've got Tui next.
Oh, does anyone have I'm going to be speaking in support of Councillor Carr and Councillor Jones. So, I mean, if you want to call on someone that supports this, I don't know, because from reading the terms of reference, I do not understand why the Mayor of Whangarei has been appointed to be the spokesperson. I can understand why he wants it. I can understand, I know that he is the head of the Mayoral Forum, but this initiative specifically references the JRED. And I should say, because I can only speak for myself, I voted for FNDC to be the chair. Usually it is NRC, but I voted for FNDC to hold the chairmanship because, of the equitable standards that we need to and approaches that we need to take. And I think it would be a mistake for us to be so narrow-minded and elect the Mayor of Whangarei for this position. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so then next we've got Marty and then Rick.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. At one stage I thought, perhaps Vince is appropriate because the district councils are, of course, infrastructural. We're a pan-infrastructural. And it's for that reason that I think that Chair of NRC should be the spokesperson. It crosses over all boundaries. We are a regional infrastructural unit when we have no interests, and Vince is constrained by his interest in Whangarei, as are the others in their relative districts. So I would far rather see Jeff, you as chair, being the spokesperson. Kia ora.
Okay, thanks, Marty. We've got Rick and then Jack.
Yeah, look, I'd much rather have the regional council chair speaking on this because it is a regional council, as a regional initiative. But in the interest of collaboration, the chair, and it is incorrect there. It's not mayoral. It's mayoral and chair forum, isn't it? So it includes the chair, and it's a rotational basis. It was Far North, then it was regional council, and then the chair was Kaipara, and this time it went to Whangarei District Council. So over that 12-year period, it's been every council in rotation takes the chair. That's correct. I'm correct there, aren't I? So it's very hard for us to say that that whoever's speaking is not speaking for the whole of Northland, because if it's in rotation, then each of those people on that chair and mayoral forum are speaking for the whole of Northland. So whoever it is, in this case it's the Mayor of Whangarei, they are speaking for the whole regions. And in the interest of collaboration, that's why I moved these all in the beginning, that I think the person who is the rotational chair of the mayoral and chair forum should speak. So that's why I'm supporting that. I know for whatever reason we have to work together, and I believe he should speak on behalf of
Okay, Rick, last one with Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I find myself in complete agreement with Councillor Carr and Councillor Jones. And for the following reason, I don't believe the mayoral forum has any mandate to do this, because they're not a decision-making body. They're basically a chat shop for the four chairs, or mayors and chairs. They don't have any financial delegation. So in my view, the mayoral forum chair would be fourth in line. I would say the NRC chair or the chair of JRED would be the two that would be top of the pecking order for representing Northern in this manner. Thirdly, I'd rather go for the chair of the board of Northern Inc. Thank you, because they represent the economic development of Northern and are funded to do so. And the mayoral forum is basically a talk shop, and I don't think it is appropriate. I've got no comment about the current chair at all. I just don't think the mayoral forum is an appropriate body to be speaking on this matter.
Okay, well, I'd like to bring up Daryl, because Daryl is, I would say, unbiased. Okay, Daryl, now you sit on that committee. Can you just put some clarity around where that decision, if we went against this, what would be the outcome? Yeah.
Might just help Daryl for a second.
Yeah.
Kia ora, Chair. So the paperwork that we've got here, if I can, the paperwork that we've got here and the resolutions that you've got, consistent paperwork and resolutions that are going to all councils in December. There was some kōrero around where regional deal sits, whether it's because the government has said it needs to be done as a region. So individual councils can't go and do them by themselves. Districts can do them by themselves without collaborating with other districts, but a regional council has to be involved. So there was some kōrero at the mayoral forum around does it sit at the mayoral forum, and the points that Jack outlined around delegations is correct. So then it was, well, we've got an existing forum being the regional joint regional economic development committee. So hence why it's been workshopped with each council and with the JRED around amendments to their terms of reference, and it's sitting there. I think it would be useful to have a spokesperson for these sorts of things. I'm going to stay away from who's an appropriate spokesperson, other than to say I think Northland Inc is there to support us as the shareholders of Northland Inc in this. This is a regional deal between central government and local government, not between central government and Northland Inc. So I do think that there is value in having a political spokesperson there, rather than it being a Northland Inc board chair. And I'll dip my toe in that political water and go, if there may be an opportunity for that to not have to be an individual, but to be a collective, so that it can be a collective voice rather than a single person. So you might not, just as something for you to consider, that there's a collective voice from all mayors and chair, rather than having to say a single individual.
Okay, so if we don't approve this recommendation 7, right, where does it go?
Kia ora, Chair. Depends what all the other councils do, obviously, but if we don't approve it, then we won't have the collective position as the 4 councils of the North as to who the spokesperson is.
So procedurally, I'd be happy to withdraw my role as proposer for this item, and if the second would, and then we can put an alternative one up.
Okay, so we need to, so that would be Peter Lucas.
I can't amend it because I'm a mover.
Yeah. So you want to move it?
And I support Jack was saying about the chair of this council being there's a regional initiative. I think we should.
Okay, so what we've got, Peter Lucas, Joe wants to remove this notice, and he needs you to agree with it, because you seconded it.
I'm not sure it's really, that process isn't outlined in standing orders. I would just suggest, is there someone who wants to put an amendment? Otherwise we put it to the vote. And then you had a blank slate.
I have the amendment.
Yeah. Okay, John, what's your amendment?
That the council
Can you
agrees.
just read out the wording, please?
We're just doing that now.
Okay, number 7, the council agrees that the chair of Northern Regional Council with the spokesman for the regional deals administered on behalf of the region. Second.
We have already moved and seconded that, have we not?
No.
Moving an amendment.
I changed the mayoral forum came out. sit of Middle Forum as a Northland Regional Council. Chair of Northland Regional Council.
I need a seconder.
Further amendment.
Well, we need a seconder on that. Well, what happens
It
now?
lapses and we go back to the original
You
motion.
don't have a second.
We don't have a seconder?
I'll second it to ask more questions. eh?
Okay.
Um,
Amy
So I'm happy to second it just so we can have a discussion.
and John?
So my question is around process and perception. So these same recommendations have been drawn up and given to the other councils. Do we know when they're having their meetings? Have their meetings happened this week?
Week,
or
isn't it?
is it, are we the first?
Wednesday and Thursdays.
Yep.
So we are first.
How
Okay.
we do it, Tony? Thursday, isn't it? Arnold?
Okay, because I guess while I'm open to everything that's been discussed, I'm just wondering how it will look if we end up in a situation where we've voted differently to everybody else when we're trying to pull together cohesion as a region.
Yep.
So what's the feasibility of us setting a direction today and then being able to socialise that to be the direction that we collectively take as a region? I think that's the path forward that we'd like to see. Does anyone know how that might, is that a political thing or is that an operational thing or a bit of both?
Can I just give you a heads up on
Yeah.
that? I have had a heads up from Far North Regional Council that they do not support item 7 as well.
Okay.
So Jack, yeah, good suggestion.
I've got a further amendment. Well, sorry to hold things up. And I'd like to amend it, if as long as we get the process right, that number 7 agree that the chair of Northern Regional Council and the chair of JRED be co-spokespersons for this. Because that, in my view, that addresses the concerns articulated by Councillor Jones. And that we also have 2 people with delegated authority, and we're representing all of Northland.
Well, I sort of agree with you, Jack. I'd like to give the mana to John Vucic. You know, he is the chair of JRED, to be able to give him the speaking options when it's required, especially in the Far North.
Yeah, I would agree. And that the suggestion from Councillor Craw doesn't address my concerns, but I would certainly support the chair of JREG being the spokesperson. I think he has a very well-rounded understanding of all of Northland and is part of many of the key conversations that are occurring in and around infrastructure and regional economic development.
Okay, Tui, you got your hand up?
Oh, kia ora. Pretty much Peter Lucas just said what I was going to say. I've already said how I felt that this is a JRED kaupapa and that, you know, I believe it should be either John or Suzanne. I've been waiting for Northland Inc. to do something transformational for our region, but yeah, for now, if the feeling is more towards John, I total that as well. Kia ora.
Okay, so we've got an amendment with Jack, the John and Jack's amendment. So can you read it out, Chris?
Sorry, it was John and Amy.
John and Amy.
So it was an amendment to number 7 that council agrees that the chair of the Northern Regional Council be the spokesperson of the Regional Deal Initiative on behalf of the region.
That's the first one.
That's the first one.
So you can put it to the vote. If it's lost, there's opportunities for further amendments for those who haven't.
Oh, okay, so all in favour of that amendment? Hands up. Okay, against?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Now the next amendment.
Before I put it, I'd just like to ask, Jeff, would you be happy if John alone was the spokesperson? Or?
Well, I know John well, and I think him and I actually work pretty well together. I would be surprised, like him and I, we talk a lot about this sort of stuff, but I would say, given him support on this, it's a reasonably sized operation that's going forward. Yeah.
So what
I support him. I think this is a
I'm
role.
going to address Amy's issue about, what would be politically acceptable to everybody. And I believe that the nomination of John would actually solve all of our problems. And also, as the manner of J-Red, by the way, which tends to get overlooked far too much in my view. So, and I think John's the man.
We have a discussion in though. So perhaps, once again, you actually need either deputy or an alternate. And maybe you as chair could be the alternate in the event that John's not available.
I'm happy to move that.
You do all that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
You need a seconder?
Am I able to second it procedurally?
No, because you're.
I don't think so. Yes. Okay.
And I'm afraid that John and Amy are out as well because your amendment was lost.
Yeah. So we would have one person speaking on behalf of J-Red,
which would be John personally.
Yeah. But what I struggle with again is that the Mayor of Whangarei is the elected member of the Mayoral Chair Forum. How did he end up in recommendation 7 in the first place? If J-Red was the preferred option, but I don't know. Because to me, this is going against collaboration by putting somebody else and then putting. I mean, I'm nothing against our chair being an alternate, but that seems to be a complete about face to what's recommendation 7.
Well, then don't put me as alternative then, just put John as the spokesperson.
Yeah, I'm happy. I think that would be more acceptable for the other 3 councils.
Yep.
And
Yep. Okay, so sorry, Chris. My motion is that number 7, that we nominate the chair of J-Red. Doesn't have the name, but say chair of J-Red to be the spokesperson for this issue. Thank you.
Yep.
Are you happy to second that?
Yep,
Happy with that.
Okay. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Thank you.
Kia ora, just for the minutes, just to be clear, we're just going to replace Northern Mayoral Forum with the Joint Regional Economic Development Committee. Yeah, so it's the chair of the Joint Regional Economic, just so we're all.
Yep, that's what I meant.
So I think we've done that.
Procedurally, just that is, I hate to go there, but a substantive motion, so
Oh, yeah.
So we put,
we just need to put it unless there's anything else coming.
Thank you, Chris.
Just
Okay. All in favour?
Aye.
Against?
So the other 3 council meetings, no. Yeah, happy with that. The other 3 council meetings the next 2 days.
Yep.
So how do we? Yeah. Who's going to do all that?
Well, I could send an email out to the mayors of the
I think it's important that they know
on how we voted today.
Reasoning,
So
reasoning
give them a
went
heads
for
up. Yep. So we don't have a dispute.
Exactly.
You know, we're out on our own because we haven't voted for it.
Yep.
So, okay.
I think it looks.
Yeah, I'll send an email after this meeting. Okay, all right tonight. Okay, so we need to go to item 7.4, Biosecurity Act 1993 Amendment Submission. And we've got April and Leon in the room.
104.
104.
Oh, sorry, it's 104.
I'm happy to move both recommendations together, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a Jack and Jeff as a seconder. Jack?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the staff for a really, really good submission. And just to alert staff that this is not, we're not submitting on draft bill here. We're submitting on suggestions that to go forward to MPI. It's basically we're shooting at clouds here, so we don't really know what we're actually submitting against. But I think this is a really good response by staff to alert the MPI of the breadth of the issues that they wish to address. And so there's quite a lot of wisdom in this approach. So I think we should be really proud of this submission. Thank you.
Yeah, I was supporting Jack. So yeah, thanks both of you. You presented to us already and you're doing a tremendous job. And we just, I just call for the support. Oh, Joe.
Yeah. Support it. Could we, we've got a chair of our biodiversity committee. Should he be named as a spokes?
Do we need one? I don't think we need one. So do we?
You would be normally the spokesperson.
Well, I'm happy to do that. But I don't know if we need. Oh, okay, whatever.
No, this is a submission and needs to be presented.
Oh, well, I think it carries more manner if the chair of council actually signs it.
John,
Up to you.
Usually the submissions, these kinds of submissions are signed by the chair. Yeah. And to take Councillor Craw's point, when the bill, is up for review, there is another opportunity here. But at those points, we'd ask the chair to front that as well.
Any other discussion around this? Okay, all in favour?
I just have one question, Mr. Chair. Are you happy to sign this submission?
Yes, I'm happy to sign this, Peter Lucas.
It seems most unusual that you're happy to sign this one, but not the treaty principles one. Kia ora.
Okay, so all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, the Environment Fund for the 2025-26.
Yes, I'd like to move that, please.
Oh, Rick, you're off the board. Do we have Amy as a second or? Yeah, Amy.
Very happy to see that reinstated. Hope it doesn't get unreinstated again.
Okay. Yeah, so, and Ruben, that's starting to go out the door already, or we have to approve it now?
Next financial year.
Next financial, 2025, 2026. Yep. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Okay. All right, we're up to 7.6. Page 138.
Definitely want to move this one as well.
The Agency Joint Venture Coordination Centre. We've got full of people in the room.
Happy to second it.
Okay, we've got Rick and John. Okay. Rick, you moved it.
Yes, look, it's been a long time coming. It's I've been involved with it for a fair while. Very, very keen to get it kicked off. I think we've got the full support of all the councils now. Money's been sitting here building up for years and years. So yes, it's 5.5 million, but yeah, how much of it's already all there, isn't it? Can't remember.
About 8 million all up.
So it's been sitting there for a long time. So let's just get on with it and build the thing because we need it. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about the 2 stories and so forth, but we know this is now fit for purpose. It's going forwards. I believe we need it. So I want to get it done.
Okay, we have workshopped this this week.
We have workshopped it a lot. And
a lot. So have you got any updates, Jono?
Oh, you want to share? Sure. Just 2 quick points I wanted to touch on. One is the fact that this is the agreement between ourselves and the district councils. And thank Bill and Louisa and Graham Mack for the work we've done. It's a collaboration. It takes time to get us all on the same page. There will, however, be another agenda item that we'll be bringing back to council hopefully in February, and that's the agreement between NRC and FENS. So this is the agreement between local government as to how we're going to operate it.
Yep.
The next agreement, we just couldn't quite get it across the line to have it all here, but we wanted to get the one between local government sort of lost on when we could. So the FENS one between us and FENS, who are going to be the landowners, we're going to be the owners of the building. That'll be coming in February. There's one point that now I've lost. The governance reporting on this, because it's a collaboration between all councils, that the governance oversight is going to be through the CDM joint committee.
Oh, yeah, so that'll go through that any issues. Okay, Joe and then John.
No, it's extensive documents to read. A lot of work, it truly is. Now, there's a 10% contingency in this, and there's no provision of returning a contingency. I suppose you've heard the expectations we're going to spend it all, but if the cost estimates are actually realistic, you could have a contingency, and I want to know how the contingency will be repaid, whether it's going to be on a proportionate basis to the respective councils or.
Yep. Okay, John.
Kia ora, Chair. If there is a contingency, we'll come back to all councils. We haven't worked through what that would be at this stage, but yes, all councils have contributed proportionately.
Yep.
So there'll be a discussion as to whether it goes back proportionately or whether it remains as a civil for the purposes of civil defence. But there'll be rest assured that if we're underspent on the build, decisions will come back to governance as to what happens to any contingency underspent.
We've rated for CapEx.
Correct.
Not operating.
Okay, John.
Yeah, it's good to see this come about, and it's been rated for a very long time. I think the chair got extra money in Wellington when he went down there on one of his earlier trips. And it's also good to see the councils working together on one project. So it sort of backs up what last item was talking about. So yeah, great stuff. Thank you.
Okay, Tui.
Yeah, kia ora. I just wanted to personally thank the staff for getting this to this level. The only casting vote that I laid as chair was to get this across the line, and I'm really proud of that decision that I made. And I'm really happy, you know, you haven't had a lot of visibility around this, so thanking you for all of the time that you've put together on it, and the thoroughness of the report, except the timeline graphic is not very clear, but that's my only feedback. But thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to the updates at CDM.
Yeah, Chair, very happy to email around the timeline diagram to councillors if that's helpful.
Yep. Okay, Phil, no other comments in the room? Okay.
No.
All right, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, item 233. Approach to develop the annual plan by 2026, 7.7 by Robin Broadhurst. Robin's in the room. Okay. We got two recommendations here. Do we have a mover and a second? I'll move it.
I'll have you second this. Both.
You'll second it, John? Yep. Okay, I don't have any discussion around this. Been over it. It's pretty well straightforward. So I'm opening it up to the other councillors like to talk. John?
Oh, well, I recommend it. It's not consulting with people, which I usually like to do, but in this case, I think it's not relevant. Not needed, I suppose, is more the word. So yeah, I support it. And yeah, let's get on with it.
Get on with it?
Absolutely.
Okay. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, on to page 236, the Chair's report, item 8.1.
Yep, move the Chair report.
John? Any other? Oh, Jeff will second it. I'm not sure I was allowed to second mine.
I think you're supposed to move your own report, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's mandatory, but
Any discussion? Okay, all in favour?
Aye. Aye.
Against?
I have my hand up. Can you see me?
So too
Can you guys see me up there?
There's two hands up.
oh, sorry, your hands are very small and I just missed you. So sorry, Councillor Jones.
I was like this.
Yeah, sorry, I'm taking minutes. I'm not always looking up.
Chair, I just would ask that through you, the chair, that you ensure that if a councillor wants to speak on an issue, scan the room as well as look at the screen. Thank you. Now, my question is, has there been any outcomes, any tangible outcomes for our ratepayers from your business trip to Thailand? Thank you.
At this moment, I've got a meeting with the Foreign Minister on Friday, and Paul Linton has put up another presentation, which includes the Uruku, the development in Russell with the Duke, another presentation on behalf of the Kingfish Farm, and these 15 delegates, I'm not sure where they're from or the business or whatever, who will be in that room in the Pullum on Friday at 5:30. So that's where we're getting to. I'm passing a lot more information on to Paul Linton to drive this, as that's what his role is. They're doing the presentations at the moment and getting information where is needed. As we've had a few people from our meeting in Thailand reach out for more information on the presentation, which has now been passed over to Paul Linton.
Did you say Uruku?
Yes, that is correct.
I'm not aware that our council supports that development.
Well, at the moment, it's going through Paul Linton, through Northern Inc.
Is that at your direction?
No, it was asked if we could promote that as well as a hotel option.
I didn't get asked that, if you could promote that.
The workshop.
Did others
We
get asked there?
Well, you don't come to the workshop, so you missed out.
So, this is where decisions are meant to be made, Chair. Decisions such as if you're going to fly off to Thailand, for what purpose? For our ratepayers.
I've answered your question,
And if it's going to promote development, it should be development that we support as a council. As a council, not as a workshop. I'm going to leave that there.
Okay.
I don't agree with that.
Peter Lucas.
Kia ora. Yeah, I just want to acknowledge the concerns raised by Tui Shortland. I had significant questions around our use of ratepayers' monies to fund your trip to Thailand for the familiarization tour. I'm trying to understand, Chair, or perhaps through our CEO, do we know the size of the investment that any of these supposed people seek to invest in our region? Do we understand their investment priorities? Have they perhaps provided us with any documentation other than the slide decks that we've had sent to us, which seem very general and an effort to engage and understand our region? But I don't see any commitment there around shared priority focus with our obligations to our ratepayers.
Okay. Any more discussion around that? Okay. All in favour?
Question of clarification, Mr. Chair.
I'm not responding to you, Peter Lucas. I have sent you information, and I'm not responding to your question.
My question, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, I'm shutting this conversation down now. It's my right to shut it down. Can we please
how
move on?
much of the Northern ratepayers' money has gone towards you promoting Oroku and the other things that you want
You
to
haven't
promote
gone through the chair. I'm giving you one warning. Okay, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Okay, so we're up to the Chief Executive's report, Council. All right. Joe?
Yep. I'll have you second.
Okay, John? All right, let's have a look. Okay, it's a good report. Who would like to start the conversation?
See, I moved, I might.
Yeah.
Page 254, transport procurement strategy. It's talking about council's place to draft with NZTA. This hasn't gone through audit and risk or through the transport committee, and yet the transport committee actually identified as one of its action outputs it wanted was a high level review of transport services in Northland. And I just asked that this process does get referenced back to the Regional Transport Committee and to audit and risk. Procurement is pretty important, and I think it needs a governance overview.
Okay. Get a response to that.
Just looking at Louisa. Yep, very happy to follow that process.
Okay.
Okay, well, come on the RTC as a late item tomorrow.
Kia ora, Chair. Just to perhaps Councillor Carr, we can catch up with you just after this council meeting on it.
Yep.
If that's all right, I just suspect that there's not going to be time for staff to draft a paper between now and tomorrow on it. But we can
provide the draft that sent to NZTA.
Yeah.
That's an action. Right. Any other discussion? Yeah.
It's actually a comment, really. Colin, I know I've raised this before about what I believe to be good news in terms of FBU compliance, and you've said, I raised it 2 months ago, it was too early to tell. But this looks like it's not too early to tell. This just looks like damn good news to me. Full compliance, 11% ahead of last year for the consented farms, and for the non-consented 4%. They're pretty good stats. Though you don't have to comment. but if you'd like to comment, I'd like to hear it.
It's important we wait for the last set of results because
Okay.
I understand that it's been as positive as it
Oh, I see.
these few months.
No, I'll wait then. We'll wait till next year. Thank you.
Any other discussion? John?
One point on the credit line is page 257 maritime, and it talks about 7 ships are scheduled to come to Barrow Islands in November. One was cancelled due to MPI cleaning requirements. So how does that affect our ship? All that tough that we suddenly say, the MPI say, if we go somewhere else, will that stop other ships coming in at the risk of not getting to port?
Yep, it is added stress to them. Yep. Kia ora, Chair, I'll have an initial crack and if staff want to add to it. So yes, MPI does have requirements for those cruise ships coming in. They're quite high standards, and some ships are. It is some ships are not calling as a result of being able to meet those standards. I think while I was away, there was a workshop as part of our annual plan about the expected reduction in cruise ship numbers coming in. So I think Marlborough Sounds, didn't they turn them away from down there? So it's not just north of us.
Okay, good.
It's more those biosecurity concerns that we've all got as well.
Indeed.
Okay, any other issues?
Yep. I just wanted to, yeah, I can't find it. It's page 251. It's the vehicles on beaches, the sign. It says, promotional campaign for the new signs is launching in December. So I know this was Laura's one. I can't remember. It's not your one, Colin. No, it's Laura's, I think. I just wanted to find out when they'll actually go up, those signs. Because I've got a couple of meetings and they ask about them. But
unless Ruben can answer that question, which I suspect he can't, we'll just we can come back to councillors directly with an answer around the signs going.
Yep. Thanks.
Right. I just got one positive comment on page 245 about biodiversity of coastal moka work. It's great to see Jackie Wairipo back up here, adding her considerable expertise, and good news. And I'd like to thank the team for that. I think it's great work.
I see a hand up with Peter Lucas.
Kia ora. Are you there? Kia ora, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, Peter Lucas.
I have a question, and it's really about the non-compliance with the municipal water treatment plant in Ahipara and also in Kohukohu, which is quite significant. My question is, how does the council intend to address the identified compliance issues in the municipal water wastewater treatment plants as highlighted in the report? I say that because the last 3 months is completely red. Kia ora.
Yeah, I can explain that. Can you hear me? Councillor Lucas?
I can hear you. Kia ora.
Because of the way the condition set, it's based on a meeting. I try to explain that in the response in the table. It will take several months to come back into, if you like, the amber or green. So it's just it's like a phasing issue at the moment for Ahipara. For Kohukohu, we did revisit the site, did some further sampling. It's looking better. We think the issue may have been more of a self-monitoring wasn't being done fully in accordance with the procedure. So it might be a sampling procedure issue rather than actual non.
Okay, any other discussions? All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, we go to the receipt of the committee minutes, item 9.1 on 261. You'll move them, Joe?
Yeah.
This is, I'll second them. I'm on one committee. Okay, Joe, we've got you and Marty here on vote minutes.
Oh, yeah, Marty may wish to speak to Tioni Ra Tohi. Speak to that one,
Yeah,
Marty.
happy to speak on Te Aroa Tohi, Chair. It's all going well, or steady as steady as she goes, but a little bit slow steady. I did express a concern that we're only living on interest from revenue that's already there in the bank, rather than trying to build some momentum so that there's some ongoing activity that's able to start building the funds up in the beach management board, which was acknowledged. Thank you.
Any other discussions? All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Turn the page to item 9.2, page 270, working party updates. Any discuss? I can move it. I have a seconder.
Yep.
Amy. Yep. Really no discussion around that. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, we need to
I'll move us out.
You want to move us out? Okay.
I second that.
Okay.